Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. This is your host, Steve Ramona. I'm excited because I'm delving into education today. Serving and education are not talked about a lot, but we say it kind of in the background. But teachers and educators are serving our society daily. And my guest has a way to really amplify this education and do much more. Dr. Phil, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's not the Dr. Phil you guys think it is. This guy's much better. I'm just going to leave it at that. I want to start kind of a different path than we talked about in the green room before. Is are teachers really servant leaders?
Yeah, I really believe teachers are servant leaders, and I believe that I'm in it because it's my calling. And so not only in the classroom, but now as an owner of a technology company, the reason why I kind of led to Edtech is because I still believe that, my purpose on earth is to impact youth, is to make a better place for children as they're, growing up. And that pathway is using education. And so I strictly stuck with the Edtech platform. But yeah, I come across teachers every day. My mother's a teacher. I was in the classroom from a district level, superintendent, all those kind of things, and it takes a heart, it takes a love for children. Now, in any field or in any ministry or you have people who shouldn't be there, right? But as far as the core crust of a teacher, one of it is that they have a heart to serve children.
I love that. So let's go back to your background then. You were a teacher superintendent. Why didn't you stay in education and not start this ed tech company?
Yeah, hey, that's a good question. I have 5 graduate degrees and a doctorate. I did everything in the field of education, and I'm working on a 7th graduate degree, my MBA. But yeah, I actually was in the classroom and I was like, wait a minute, I am only impacting the kids in my classroom. And then I felt that there was an issue with special education. So I got a degree and became a school psychologist, to where I was able to work for a district to be the gatekeeper. I felt like it was, they were overdiagnosing students. And I still have a school psychology practice, actually. But the issue as a school psychologist, I'm like, wait a minute, I have more information about these children than anyone else. And all I'm doing is assessing. I give a report, I end with the eligibility and then move on to another student. And so I start looking at the district level administration as a principal. Then as a principal, I'm like, wait a minute, again, only my building is being impacted. And I felt like my purpose, I wanted to impact more. So I became a superintendent of some of the largest school districts. Even in Houston, I was an area superintendent. I had all 300 schools, 210,000 students, superintendent of a small area in Mississippi. But as a superintendent, it's a strong, in the larger districts, you're kind of waving your hand and kissing babies. But it's hard to move a larger district. I went to a smaller district so that I can have an impact on the community. And I did. I felt good about that. Even though I felt like the board, there's a lot of, things that happen with the school board that hinders, true leadership in that sense. Went to the state level. So I was a national ambassador for United States Department of Education. And then I did some work with Oracle, long-term, worked for Oracle for a while, Apple, Amazon, and did some consulting for Apple and Amazon. And I'm like, wait a minute, I have an opportunity to impact the world. I have an opportunity first to impact the United States. So unfortunately, 75% of children currently in the United States read below grade level. And that regardless of demographics, social economical status, it doesn't matter. 75% of 4th graders read below grade level. And it's even worse when you start looking at the minority groups. And then when you factor in social economics. And to understand what implications that has on the future, meaning that in 2040, they say 85% of jobs that will exist have not even been invented yet, but they will have an aspect of technology, AI, and then also reading proficiency. because you're going to have that little black box in your hand, that phone, whatever that device is going to look like in 2040. It's going to have all the information in the world. AI, you can ask it any questions, you can get any answers. So now you're going to have to read through it, critically think, and apply it. And as opposed to make money. And if we, so to me, it's a level of national security if you have a large population that are not able to read proficiently. So that's kind of why I went to developing my product.
And kissing babies are okay, audience. He's not, we're saying it's okay. It's just to make it impact. Let's see, you said impact. I just love that phrase, kissing babies.
I meant it from a political standpoint. That
Absolutely.
you're a political figure, and you're not really drilling down on what happens inside a classroom that immediately impacts a youngster, with the boots on the ground.
Keywords impact. I love that you've said that like 3 or 4 times. So I want to ask a question about impact. Being an African-American, high in education, you could go into low income areas and make a bigger impact. Not that I couldn't, but being African-American, do you feel that's true?
Let me tell you one thing. So I mean, from a controversial standpoint, I've been in all African-American school districts, and have all African-American staff, and there's still failure. And the same opposite, I've been to all African-American school districts and had a majority white staff and still failure. I think it's really finding people, like I said, who have a heart for kids, who takes education as a profession. I think we lost that professional aspect of it. I think that there are some issues with who the customer is. I think that people in education for too long and still believe that, unfortunately, the teachers and administrators are the customers, and that we're not. It's not the adults, it's the children and their parents are our customers. And if you look at any field, I mean, I can go to Walmart and they know my user behavior before I walk in, and everything is geared towards me. The minute second I pull up, sometimes if I don't know, they have geofencing that on my phone, ads will pop up, right? But what people don't understand is that in education, we actually have the same amount of data, if not more, than a Fortune 500 company. But we sit on that data. We do not use it to drive decisions. We use it to record history, meaning, this child is failing. That's a record in history. It doesn't help us in the process, or recording a grade, or recording an absence or a tardy, as opposed to using that data to drive decision making from the administration standpoint, from the district standpoint, all the way to the classroom standpoint.
Yeah, I love that you said, and thank you for answering that question. I know could be controversial, but I love how you said that. And what came to my head was heart has no color. If you got a heart, no matter what color you are, right? I love that. Let's jump into Edtech, which is education technology, for people that don't understand that. Why is it not popular? I'm a big tech guy. Tell me why it's not popular in education.
So Edtech is not popular, one, because of the adoption cycle and the procurement cycle of school districts. Procurement cycle meaning that, unfortunately, and I'm serious, this is true. Like, school districts they will get your product and take, I don't know, 2 or 3 months to pay you, as if that's normal. And so the procurement cycle, some of it is that the board has to adopt it. Even, it takes 30 minutes. You have one board meeting a month, so you have 30 days of that aspect of it. But even when they approve it, and then they have to, sign off on the payroll or the books, another board meeting. So, it just starts to accumulate that sense. So other aspect of it is the philosophy of everyone, meaning that education, its system of itself, is an old dinosaur. We know that, the only time that it really pivoted was in COVID, and we failed. We were caught, not prepared. And then after COVID, we're kind of reverting back to, present systems and sprinkling technology, but not utilizing technology like it's supposed to be used. So the education system in and of itself is an old dinosaur. And so they have buying habits, they have favorites, they have companies that they're familiar with. that they believe in. They have practices to say, you know, what's research of a tool in order to use it. And in other industries, innovation, and we know it's new. That means innovated. That means it doesn't have that history. But you know, at some point in time, we have to not necessarily aim, but kind of shoot first and aim later, right? And adjust it later. But we don't take those risks in education, and so therefore we're tied to things that historically have not worked. And then you have the old dinosaur companies, old textbook companies, and those textbook companies, you know, probably have empowered 85%, you know, of districts. And the issue is that they are a trusted name, but in all reality, their product have not moved the needle. 75% of children, like us, low grade level in fourth grade, you know, and we can keep going. We're at the lowest graduation rate in history of producing graduates. You know, college enrollment is down. You know, all those kind of things that we're tied to, and we're afraid to pivot. Where other industries, they pivot fast when they see that something is not working. They actually pivot. When education, if we see something's not working, we still plow forward. But the problem is, yeah, and we have the product. We're producing productive citizens. We're producing children with a moral compass. But yet, you know, we don't take that product serious enough.
Yeah. So education and tech and AI, let's throw that in there because that's tech. AI is bounding around about education, you know, writing your essays and things like that. But what do you see the future? What can your product and other people do with education to change it, to make it better?
Yeah, AI is scary to people because they watch too many movies, first of all. But meaning that right now, really, we're not really utilizing AI in a true sense. That's why they call it light AI in the industry or field. It doesn't have a conscience. It's basically a data training set that someone put in, you know, and trained and is utilizing data to make those decisions. Now, I would say that right now, things like ChatGPT, that is the new wave or revolution of technology, and it has happened and changed faster than in anything in history. I think right now we were in the mobile revolution, you know, using the mobile phones, apps, and those kind of things, in our cycle of change. But those things took years for iterations and things to change. ChatGPT in January was released. By March, it was like on 3 or 4. You know,
crazy.
So yeah, and so if you think about how fast and advanced things are moving now, we have what they say is that the future of intelligence is the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn, because technology is going to have such a fast shelf life. Yeah. All of those things are in contradiction to education. If you look at AI, really AI is in the old days the same fight that people were having against calculators. And should they use calculators on tests, or should they, you know, yes, you do need to teach the foundation, but that is a great tool that adults use on their phones, I mean, regardless, like it's included free on your phone. It's included free on your computer, you know, because it's a good tool to use. And so to run away from AI and not teach people how to use that tool to better themselves, I mean, there's not an industry that's not affected by it. And so most people equate it to the blue collar automation, but they are ignoring the white collar automation. Like that's happening as fast. In the law field, you don't need a team of lawyers anymore. You have an AI function that can summarize and read through and find any case and summarize for you for that one attorney. In the doctor field, they have AI now that can predict, that actually in 99% accuracy predicts a treatment plan for breast cancer. Breast cancer is the most deadly cancer there is. and in any field, any field of medicine, a doctor is only like 55-60% accurate. That's why it's called practice of medicine. That's why when a doctor gives you something, they say come back because they want to see if it's working or not working. When you have tools that can predict 99% accuracy, when you have tools that actually robotics that actually do surgery, it doesn't negate the doctor. There's still a doctor there controlling it. So what I'm saying is technology will not replace humans, but those who use it will replace those who don't. And so you have to be very careful in the education system that we're teaching, not running from these tools, not running from AI, because again, 85% of jobs that will exist in 2040 haven't been invented yet. By the way, 2040 is around the corner.
Here before we know it. And what's interesting, the analogy I use, and I love what you said about AI, because you nailed it. Let's think back when the internet started and education. Oh no, they're gonna, say it's the same thing. It's just a faster implementation of the technology down the road. And you talked about, and we won't get into it, the augmentation, and what was the other thing you mentioned?
So white collar automation and blue collar automation.
Yeah. So that's going to change education too. So we're talking about change. It's tough. A lot of layers to get through. You've been in those layers. What's the first thing that you think can make a difference in education and can be done quickly?
Man, we have to focus on highly qualified adults teaching children. If that is not in your region, right? Because your zip code determines how educated you are, then we have to figure out how to use technology to mend that gap.
Yeah.
Those things are augmented reality, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence, meaning AI is able to analyze the data of the student and point them to the right instructor. The right instructor using AI that has had the most impact on a child that fits that profile. And then that child uses virtual reality to connect and be taught in a classroom, a virtual classroom with that teacher. Or augmented reality for that person to be right in front of that student as that student is utilizing tools. Let's just from a practical standpoint. I mean, this is obviously not necessarily school related, but let's just say baking a cake, where that student from an augmented reality can look at and grab tools and grab powder and grab sugar and grab this, that, and the other. And that person is coaching them through a real live physical aspect of baking a cake. So you put that into education, learning math, learning how to read, or those kind of things. And so once you have that perfect match, you have AI that's kind of being like a kind of a guide in a sense, or a when you're a GPS system, basically.
Yeah.
So once a student is veered off the wrong road, it automatically gives them feedback to go towards the right road. It's automatically communicating to that adult that has that proven track record of best results for those students. And then that's when learning is going to happen. The reason why that's important is because we have a national teacher shortage. Like there's nothing around it. We have a national teacher shortage. So we already have it right now. So that's one aspect. The second aspect is in the College of Education, some universities are closing their College of Education departments because they don't have enough students enrolled in it. So if you already have a teacher shortage now, you're going to have a greater teacher shortage later on. The population of children are growing. And so it's not that children are disappearing. It's not that we have population control like we do with deers or something like that.
Right.
And so we have to be able to predict from an intelligence standpoint and face the reality that we're going to have to devise systems to still be able to produce productive citizens, and educate children no matter where they live or what. The other aspect of it that's kind of creeped in on the data is that they feel that the schools most affected is actually not going to be the lower socioeconomical schools, because they understand their problem.
Oh.
When you have the old system that's very successful for higher socioeconomical populations, and they utilize technology, but not to the real sense. And they think that they're doing okay. Their students are scholars in that system. That system that they're being proficient is memorizing information and regurgitating facts.
Yeah.
That is not going to be what you need to do for the future. That little box and AI can already do that for you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I like what you said too, because the cake story, the schools are going to save money too. That's the other thing, is cost. So you don't have to buy the flour and all that, and you just do it on the augmented, and they can, a mechanic, or wood shop, or all those different history type of things. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And we know that we have a close model because we felt it during COVID, right?
Yeah.
And we know that we can have a hybrid model, because everybody's saying, then what happens if the children are at home? And I still think that there needs to be a hybrid model where those who need to go to a building goes to a building. Those who don't can stay home and still receive the same training. Obviously, that deals with the workforce.
Yeah.
And the workforce is still going back and forth. Do we leave people virtual? Do we bring people back in buildings? I just think that time will happen faster than we think, that actually people will go back to virtual. The reason is because Zoom is not necessarily good enough. But when you start having, mixed reality with glasses, that you can bring things right in front of you, and everybody as a group can be working on that same project, and you actually see everybody in the environment and those kind of things. When you deal with holograms, like all that kind of stuff is going to happen, and it's going to make not having to be in that brick and mortar where you have workman's comp, where you have people always slipping and getting hurt, where you where it's just an HR nightmare, and then you're heating and cooling buildings and just all those kind of things that you're not
commute. Yeah, you take the commute away. The teacher has to drive 30, 45 minutes to the class. That goes away. Yeah. I love what you're saying there, Dr. Phil. I'm a big tech guy, and I use Zoom a lot. Like a lot of people, I think it needs a progression, and you're right. When it gets there, it's changed. It's going to change even more. We're getting to the end here. This has been a great conversation. But the question I have that I want to end with, that's been in my mind the whole time, is, we're saying some great things. You're saying some awesome things. So how do we marry education with technology? How do we marry them together?
Yeah. I think it has to come from a direct experience of educators coming out of the field, just like myself, and learning technology. I went through a couple coding boot camps to start out and those kind of things. And I say that because a lot of Edtech products are developed from people who had experience being a student, and they're developing products with, and maybe we're a successful student or not, but they're developing products from that vantage point, and it's not a good vantage point. Or education is adopting products that were not designed for education. Zoom was designed for business. PowerPoints were designed for business. Like all those kind of things that really didn't have at first didn't have it just pivoted. And educators kind of, caught a hold to it, but it has to be married. You have intentional designs that understand all the nuances and aspects of education.
That's a great answer, and that's a simple answer. And audience, if you're thinking of tech for education, reach out to Dr. Phil. I think he can point you the right way, and I know you'd be an advocate for it, because we need more tech in the schools. And I want to thank you for coming on and giving us such great information about education and tech.
I appreciate it. Can I say one quick thing?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
About Playbook, the product that I have. The reason why it's so innovative, Playbook is the innovative reading technology that uses artificial intelligence, natural language processing, and speech recognition to help children learn how to read. And so for a simple standpoint is, the only way right now that we assess reading is we quietly have a child read a paragraph and answer multiple choice questions. And we have done that forever, but people haven't realized that that's only reading comprehension. That has nothing to do with basic reading. And so my tool not only can hear the child read, and we're more advanced than Amazon Alexa, because we can hear all the way down to the phonemic level, the unit of speech. And so if a child read the word bat, we can hear b, at, or the lack thereof. And so we can make it an analysis using AI and have a whole recommendation engine. So every time a child picks up a book, and then we have activities, to fill in the holes of those gaps. The science of reading says that you have to look at the foundational skills that are lacking. Our children kind of look like a Swiss cheese effect. They have holes in their learning, holes in their foundation. And if you can identify those holes and plug it in, then our students become more proficient readers. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's the kind of the gist of our tool. And that's why it's kind of special, is because we have comprehension questions, but they don't show up unless a child is reading proficient. If a child read that short passage, that book, or whatever it is that those questions are attached to at a proficient level, then we can isolate, are there comprehension issues? Inferencing, understanding main idea. But usually if you talk to children, they can tell you every rap song, they can tell you anything, from a conversation wise. And so they have the comprehension, but they spend so much energy trying to decode text and understand it, that they don't have enough brain power to understand what they read.
What a great tool. That's incredible.
Thank you.
Well, the information to reach out to Dr. Phil and about Playbook will be in the show notes. Please look over it. And hey, if you have a desire, reach out to him, reach out to me, and I'll connect you with Dr. Phil. A teacher sounds like a teacher's tool. Sounds like teachers out there, you're listening. Let's jump on this. Let's talk to Dr. Phil. Let's make technology and education a lifelong marriage, just not a small, short-term marriage. I want to thank you all for listening. This has been another episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you all.